As I was getting ready to go into cottage country with my family for a week, all I could think about is, I won't be creating art for a whole week, so I decided to take some supplies with me, as I could create on rainy days. And it rained quite a bit, but first I had to decide what to take with me, as I have so much. I wasn't traveling by plane, so I knew I could take more, but our car was still fully packed, so I couldn't take too much. I decided to take a small art journal which fit perfectly in my art pouch, along with a small NeoColor water-soluble crayon set. These are perfect for mark making and adding color, and I use them a lot. I also added STABILO All pencils, both in black and white, along with a mini sharpener. I took a pencil and different sized paint brushes. Some are from the dollar store, so if they got ruined, it would be okay. And a small pair of scissors, which of course you wouldn't take on board a plane. This all fit perfectly in the smaller pouch, but I wish I had bought the bigger one, as then I could fit it all. For collaging, I took some old magazines, Rub-ons, word stickers, and even took leftover ephemera pieces and put them in a clear sleeve. They are thin enough so they don't take a lot of space. Finally, I took a small tube of white gesso, a tube of gel medium, which were both small enough to fit in a pouch as well. I grabbed a couple of washi tapes and a watercolor pan set. I placed everything inside a larger bag and even found a small pouch to fit the last few supplies. We loaded our cars and headed 2 hours north into the great outdoors. I'm not a huge outdoorsy person, but I do have to say that getting there and smelling the crisp, fresh air was amazing. I sat by the lake on the first day and just listened to the sound of the lake as the waves were hitting the shore. Just on the first day, I saw nature at its best. A mama bird searching for food through the seaweed by the shore, and then flying straight to her youngling to feed it. And throughout the week, I saw so many types of wild birds. We saw herons flying, osprey high up in the trees, and so many ducklings and Canadian geese just swimming about. It was amazing to witness this beauty, as living in the city, I sometimes forget. One of my favorite things to do was sitting by the fire pit at night. Someone even brought magical powder, which you pour into the fire and it creates gorgeous, colorful flames. On the second day, it got really cold and we couldn't do much, and that's when I decided to play with my art supplies. I started with something simple and using mostly Rub-ons created my first spread. But that's not the only page I created. And since it was cooler and we couldn't go in the lake, we decided to visit a nearby town which has some amazing antique markets. I just loved walking through the aisles. It's like hunting for treasure. I saw so many beautiful things. I especially love this huge watercolor metal tin set. The cover depicts the famous Alice in Wonderland tea party scene. We even had lunch over by the water. The next couple of days were warm, so we spent them outdoors kayaking, boating, and relaxing. But of course, rain couldn't stay away. And although others wouldn't like the rain, for me it was the perfect day to create again. This time I wanted to create layers, but since I didn't take a heat tool with me, I knew I would have to wait until each layer dries. I applied the first layer using ripped magazine pieces, which I collaged onto the background along with some script tissue paper and other ephemera using gel medium. The filming isn't perfect, of course, as I am doing it all on my phone and without proper lighting, but I just thought I would include it. The gel didn't take long to dry, and I used some white gesso to dry brush on the background. Some areas were still a bit thick, so while it dried, we took a little drive to sightsee the area. The rain was on and off, so we were able to see some local sites, like these giant glacier rocks called Adam and Eve, which appeared out of nowhere in this town millions of years ago. I came back and the rain had cleared, but I was itching to get back to my background, which had dried. So while the kids were enjoying a bit of sunshine, I took my watercolors and started adding them to my background. I added both magenta and orange, switching between them, but making sure I have some white space. And while the colors were still wet, I grabbed my black Stabilo pencil and started drawing inside the wet paint, letting my hand guide me without thinking. It was the most freeing moment I have ever felt. It was as if something was guiding me and my hand was moving on its own. Since the Stabilo all dilutes with water, it just flowed through the wet paint, creating what I felt were branches or roots, which are images that I often use and I highly connect with. And once I was done drawing, and as I knew it would take a long time to dry, I let it dry overnight. The next day was beautiful, so we spent some time relaxing by the lake, boating. There was one part of the lake that was so still it looked like glass. And when everyone wanted to rest in the afternoon, I got back to my page, which was dry by now, and using the NeoColours crayons, started painting inside the leaves I had created, and added some color between the stems in both magenta and orange to match the previous colors. However, I felt that everything just blended too much, and so I decided to add some light blue as I got inspired by this color combination while seeing a beautiful sunset on the lake. It was amazing to create with limited supplies, as it made the process more intuitive and it taught me some patience. But if you want a more in-depth tutorial with the same supplies, watch these art journaling tutorials right here.